So, in our last mini lecture, we looked at learning theories and how ICT might fit with them. But what does this really look like in practice? What is best practice of technology in the primary classroom? I want to show you some things in this little lecture based on what the research is telling us, and the reading that I'm basing this lecture on, or some of the key messages for this lecture, is taken from Meaningful Learning with Technology, which is your reading from Jonathan and all of his buddies. After your first reading from the Learning to Teach book by Gloria Latham and her colleagues, I asked you to answer some questions in our online discussion forum about your own ICT use and your own technology experience. What did you use ICT for in your own school learning? How have you seen ICT being used whilst you've been on placement? Was it best practice use of ICT, do you think? Or did it look a little bit like this? This in the next slide shows some examples of what we might commonly see with ICT in the classroom, but it's not best practice. In this photo, you see an interactive whiteboard that is projecting exactly what is on the screen of every student. They're all working on the same thing at exactly the same time and being stepped through it by the teacher. In this montage of some photos, I've shown some fairly typical uses of ICT that students in past courses have told me about and that I see when I'm in primary schools far too often than I want to see. This one shows a student typing up their good copy. How many times have you heard that? That's wonderful. Johnny, now go and type it up on the computer. Type your good copy on the computer. Here's another one, what I call PowerPointlessness. That death by PowerPoint. What Chris Bigham in the late 1980s and early 1990s referred to as broadcast pedagogy, where the teacher is at the centre and the teacher is using the ICT, not the student, and it's all focused on transmitting information. Here's another one. Using mathletics. How many times have you heard a teacher say, Francine, that's fantastic. Now you finished your work early, now go and play on the computer. The implication is from these examples that the teacher controls, in this one, the teacher controls the technology. In this one, we're valuing what's done on the computer where we're not valuing what's done by hand. And in this one, the subliminal message is the computer isn't real work. Your real work is what you're doing on your worksheets. Now you can go and play. So, some other examples might have been finding and then regurgitating facts, typing up your own essays. These aren't best practice. So what does best practice of ICT look like? Here are some general principles that I want you to read through. It's quite the opposite to the sorts of things we were just seeing. We learn best when we do something or experience something, not when we passively listen to someone. I know that's what you're doing right now, but the listening and reading are only part of the learning process. We really learn it, we make more meaning when it becomes real and we do it. That's why I ask you to teach us the different applications. To teach something, you really have to learn it. I could just tell you about your application or simply show it to you on the interactive whiteboard, but you'll only really learn it and make meaning from the experience by using it. So how does technology enhance this aspect of learning? It fits right in with Seymour Pappett's idea of constructionism that I talked about in the last lecture. Look at the photos on this slide. Children are using digital cameras to film the events. They may even be filming a story that they created. They'll use editing software and audio software to pull it all together. The young girl on the bottom right has created Lego robots that she's decorated, and she's also programmed them to do something. The children in the vegetable garden are growing vegetables. Perhaps the digital technology isn't obvious, but imagine them keeping a blog with photos about the garden's progress, or using a spreadsheet to work out what the requirements were for building the garden beds in the first place. How much soil? Talking about volume. or how much mulch. They might be talking about area. Imagine them researching what the plants might need in order to flourish. Technology in these examples enhances the active learning process. Best practice of ICT in the classroom happens when the student, not the teacher, is at the centre of the learning process. Here are some more examples of the student being at the centre of the learning. With a young boy using the interactive whiteboard, the student's using it, not the teacher. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but at least he's the one doing it, not the teacher. We have another child with a blue circle around it up here, using a digital microscope to examine what a leaf looks like up close. He's using IC to help him construct his meaning about what leaves are and what the components of a leaf are, sometimes in ways that he might not otherwise have been able to see. And down here we've got a group of boys using data loggers and computers to record observations in the field. Authentic learning. One of the most common uses of ICT in the classroom is to represent what the children know and understand. ICT provides multiple ways of demonstrating the meaning that children create out of their learning experiences. We used to write essays and produce A5 project sheets, but we can do so much more now with the assistance of technology. This slide shows 3 examples of Web 2 applications you might not be familiar with that are easy to use and commonly used in the classroom. The very pink picture shows an example of a glog using the Web 2 application called Glogster, which is very much like an A5 cardboard poster, but with the enhanced ability to include video, and there's the video there, or actually it probably could be audio as well. Images, text and sound. Becomes a much more interactive poster. Toondoo over here is an example of a comic strip application that allows the user to create their own comic strip or comic book. Really easy to use and so many different possible uses in the classroom. Extra Normal, the one down here in the bottom, is one of a few Web 2 applications that allow the user to create their own animated cartoon. The creator can choose from a wide range of avatars, camera angles, special effects, backgrounds or voices to create their cartoons. Like the comic strips, so many different possibilities of how to use these in the classroom. A warning about using technology to represent what the students know. And here's one of Nikki's mantras. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. So take care with the questions and the topics you are asking your students. If you just ask for facts, then that's all you'll get. Ask your children questions that prompt inquiry and interpretation and problem solving, then get them to demonstrate their meaning making, not their ability to cut and paste. The role of the teacher is critical. In the previous lecture, I talked about socio-constructivist theories of learning and situated learning, theories that acknowledge that learning is a social activity, not an individual activity. Best practice use of technology also recognises that learning is a social activity and should therefore be used to foster collaboration between students in the same classroom and also between people of different ages and backgrounds and expertise from beyond the classroom. Using Skype, Google Hangout, email, social networking, age appropriately, naturally, and wikis all foster connections that extend the walls of the classroom. The 2 photos on the left of this screen show examples of the Teddy Bear Project, where partner schools send each other a soft toy. In this case, the Canadian kids sent the Australian kids a beaver, and the Australian kids sent the Canadian kids a kangaroo. And then they exchange writing, images, videos of the adventure that the soft toys have in their new homes. Intercultural understandings, ICT skills, reading, writing, a wide range of skills and understandings can be fostered with this type of idea. Using this type of technology shrinks the world but expands the classroom in really authentic ways. So there's some brief examples of best practice, and I'm sure that we're going to be exploring other examples in our classes as you share with us what you're learning about the other applications we're studying. But how transformative is all of this really? Does it really transform learning and teaching? Our next mini lecture will explore some questions about where we go to from here with technology in the classroom.